I am in Phoenix tonight, bringing my tour to Phoenix. Next week is St. Louis, Indianapolis, and Chicago. Get your tickets at the link in the show notes. The Phoenix VIP tickets are sold out, and I don't think we have ticket counts from anywhere else, so I don't know. jfcomedytour.com is also where you can get that. Today, we are talking about the concept of having a winter arc, stepping into your winter arc. Have you heard of this, Caitlin?
No, I've not.
Caitlin is not chronically online like I am. I know every trend. I know every trending sound. I know all of the, like, if the TikTok kids are into it, I'm not only aware of it, but I'm probably doing it. I was thinking last night, I was like, I spend so much time, looking at things on the internet, and I regret nothing. I love being chronically online. I learned so much stuff. I mean, that's how I learned how to do makeup, how to do my hair. I learned about winter arcs. I just honestly love it. So winter arc is a concept. It's a concept on social media. And the idea behind having a winter arc is that you step into the idea of your life really coming to a crescendo as we round out the year. You step into this idea that your life is a story. And so the word arc comes from, the arc of a plot, of a play, of a movie, of a book. And you're really bringing it into a beautiful swan song ending for the few weeks that we have until the end of the year. Now, some of us have had the kind of year where really the only place to go is up. Some of us, may I review my year over here? So we start off with almost dying, getting banned from the largest hematology practice in Texas for threats of violence, and then some health issues that started shortly after that are still not resolved and caused me a fair amount of pain and endless doctor situations to deal with. Oh, and we can't forget getting dropped by my agent and manager on the same day. And then there were things that you can get the whole arc for this year on the Patreon, where I do my State of the Dumpster Fire addresses. On the last one, I was showing screenshots of certain financial things that I regret very deeply that happened this year. So it's easy for me to get into the concept of winter arc. It's like, I don't think my new manager is going to drop me. I don't know. The day's not over yet. Maybe I have a handle on these health issues. I have a new hematologist, new manager, whole suite, a whole new team. But so here's the thing. So we all like the idea of getting excited about the end of the year, using the time pressure of the few weeks we have remaining to step into an exciting new version of yourself. The problem is, here's where it usually falls apart in execution when we get excited about stuff like this. I think a lot of people, they don't know what their winter arc should look like. And in order to find out what your winter arc should look like, it requires a lot of failure, a lot of, to use a favorite word here on the podcast, a lot of iterating. You have to try a lot of things and have them fall apart, and maybe even have people know that you tried it and it fell apart. And the more you make that process of iteration a lifestyle, iteration being a nice word to cover over the fact you're just like trying and failing all the time, the more you make that concept of iteration a lifestyle, the easier it will be for you to do things like use the new year or the rest of this year to set goals and to develop an exciting new vision of yourself, because you've tried so many things and failed at them that there's, you're really starting to narrow it down. But it's that fear of failure, fear of iterating, that is keeping a lot of you guys stuck. And by the way, we are now doing lock screens for this podcast. For each episode, there's a lock screen. It's totally free. It's not behind a paywall. It's not behind it. Like, you click on the link in the show notes and it is right there, and you can download it and you can make it your lock screen, phone wallpaper, whatever. So I think we'll do one for this episode that says, I'm iterating. That is what you can tell yourself next time you're like trying and failing you're trying to get your winter arc going, or spring arc, or whatever it is. Just remind yourself you are iterating. So that is the main topic today. We will begin by, of course, a follow-up on the dinner party.
Oh, yeah.
That was an episode not to be missed. And I haven't caught up with Caitlin. So I haven't told Caitlin about the dinner party. And what we have a bunch of other good stuff. There was something else. Oh, right. Me finding out, speaking of iterating, that one thing that is not for me is being a race car driver. Caitlin and I went to some F4, it's like Formula 1, but Formula 4 races here in Austin. That was a learning experience, I think, for both of us, both Caitlin and for myself. So we'll talk about that as it relates to finding your calling and things like that. We will talk about my husband's latest insane purchase, and I will have my daughter Pammy show it off. Keep in mind, this is the same man who thought he should wear a banana costume to a Dia de los Muertos somewhat classy party, and who also thought that buying a Walmart inflatable hot tub for our back deck was just what our home needs. Kind of just the finishing touch, the creme de la creme for our home is that. So he has a new purchase, like, not as good as the Walmart inflatable hot tub, but still, we're trying. So big show today. Excited to have you with us. This is the Jen Fulwiler Show, coming to you from Austin, Texas. I am your host, Jen. I am a best-selling author, stand-up comic, and mom of 6. And this is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That's being a hot girl boss, or hot boy boss, who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. We publish new episodes every single Wednesday morning, and I am back on tour. Just a little, being dropped by my agent manager does not stop me from touring. I told you some of the cities, again, Phoenix, VIP is sold out, but we have some general audience tickets left. That is tonight. And then St. Louis, Indianapolis, Chicago, Kansas City, Omaha, Des Moines, Buffalo, Royal Oak, and Columbus, Ohio. And play our lovely jingle, Caitlin.
She was dropped by her agent and manager on the same day. Iconic. Now she's entered her villain era, and she's back on tour anyway. Jen Fulwiler. News gonna drop. Jen Fulwiler. But she just can't be stopped. Jen Fulwiler. The show is gonna pop. Takes that JFComedyTour.com.
All right, and here's where I usually plug the Patreon. As you guys know, I do my State of the Dumpster Fire live addresses where I say all the things I can't say publicly, and those are archived. If you join, you have instant access to all the archives. But I want to make a plug quickly for the Village Hustle Patreon that I just put up just Monday of this week. I could have come up with a better title, but I was iterating. I was in a hurry. I did yogurt and journaling, and I should have workshopped that a little bit, because it is actually, it's the episode that I'm like, man, if they only watch one Village Hustle Patreon episode, I hope it's that one. And that title doesn't really make you want to, I mean, you don't think like, I bet this is going to change my life. This is going to change my life. Maybe I need to go edit that title. It might have a different title by the time you see this. But I was making yogurt, and there's an update at the end for how that turned out. And it was causing me an unusual amount of stress. Like, I was really feeling a lot of just negativity generally. And it seemed to start when I started making yogurt. And I was like, well, why? I mean, I suck at everything domestic, including cooking, and I really don't understand about like fermenting germs, and I keep screwing it up. And I had to quit my kefir practice because I was also trying to ferment kefir. And that's, by the way, that is like, trying to make kefir is like having a Tamagotchi pet that's impossible to control, but it smells bad when you screw it up. I had to, many of you emailed me tips on making kefir. I don't know. And I'm sorry, I can't, I'm not, it's going to have to be store-bought. I can't do it. So this thing, trying to grow bacteria in my kitchen, it's yielding mixed results. So I was wondering why is that causing me so much stress? None of this is new news to me. And so I did this journaling practice that I've learned about from that woman I've told you about before, Nicole Sachs, Sachs. She has a great podcast. She talks about stuff like this. And she has a practice called Journal Speak it's kind of a step-by-step method for how to get to the root of what is really bothering you, because what is actually bothering you is often not what is on the surface. And with the cameras rolling, so to speak, for the Village Hustle Patreon, I was just showing you guys how I do the journal practice. And through that practice, through the Journal Speak practice, I realized what it was. That, it wasn't about the yogurt. Surprise, surprise, surprise. It wasn't about the yogurt. That the stress of making the yogurt reminded me of other failures in my life that were much deeper. There was much more tension around it. And I almost deleted that segment of that Village Hustle Patreon episode because it just got very personal very quickly, because I didn't really expect to have an epiphany while I was recording for you guys. And then I was like, oh, well, should I tell them that? Like, I don't know. Like, okay, well, this practice works. I'll say that. But I decided to leave it because I want to help you guys and because I was too lazy to redo it. So I decided to leave it. It is the episode that, at least originally, it was called Yogurt and Journaling. And it really, I just can't recommend strongly enough that you guys try the journaling thing that I was talking about in that episode. I'll probably eventually do a main podcast episode about it. But yeah, if you only listen to one Village Hustle Patreon, that's the higher level Patreon. If you only listen to one episode that I've ever done, make it that one. Do we know the episode number of
65.
65. How does she know that? That's amazing that Caitlin just knows this. So that's episode 65 of the Village Hustle Patreon. Again, instant access when you join. Patreon.com/thisisjen. Patreon.com/thisisjen. Okay. Is Pammy still here? Do you know, Caitlin?
Good
Pammy.
question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to yell at you guys. All right, come in with this monstrosity. What does she think I'm calling her? She
knows.
We planned this. Okay, Pammy, come in here. Okay,
mute it.
Okay. Yes.
I was getting the cactus.
Okay. My husband, he's a frugal man. He doesn't buy a lot of things. Here we go. Okay. My husband doesn't buy a lot of things. He bought this on Amazon. JF on YouTube, if you would like to see this.
Turn it around.
Pammy, would you? Oh, it's the wrong way.
It's got a face.
Pammy, would you like to describe it? Because a lot of people, I only have 4 views to each podcast episode. I'm not like the YouTubers that you follow, successful. So, for the people listening on audio, which is most of my listeners, could you describe what they're not seeing here? What is this?
Okay.
Way into the mic. You got to be right on.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I have to turn this off for you to talk. Oh, no,
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So for my audio listeners,
I like how she just has her back to the camera. Like, we don't care about YouTube at all.
well,
like, JF on YouTube.com.
scooch
Okay.
over.
Okay, here, you can sit on my lap. All right. No? Okay, well, it's your podcast, Pammy. All right.
Let me sit on your chair.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So basically, what you wish you were looking at, what you're hearing about, is I have to use my muse.
Okay, tell them it's a cactus. We have to start with that.
If you observe the scene, I'm glaring at my mother, who so rudely interrupted me. It looks like a stuffed animal. It has a brown paw with a dark brown rim, and then it's a green cactus with little white dot. It's a green cactus with little white dots or spikes on it, and it has a red little smiley face with 2 big bulging white eyes. And it's kind of like curved, and then when you play it, like wiggles, and that's a cactus. So
It's okay. What do you mean when you play it, it wiggles?
What I mean is when you turn it on, when you say something, it like has little rainbow lighting inside, and it moves from side to side and repeats what you say in a high-pitched voice like this.
Which is super annoying.
Oh, it's great.
My mother doesn't love it.
That's a little Gen Alpha exaggeration there. Okay.
What did you just call me?
Well, are you Gen Z or Gen Alpha? Oh, is this offensive?
And now it's making.
Did I say something offensive? Are you Gen Z or Gen Alpha?
The cactus really helps.
Wait, why?
My mother just disgenerationed me and offended my culture.
Oh, did I misgeneration you? And so what are you? Are you Gen Z or Gen Alpha? Okay, we're not going to get an answer to this question.
I'm Gen Z.
Okay, all right. Well, I thought your brother was Gen Alpha, so that's what.
fine.
Okay, all right. Well, wow. Now we're all right. Well, Pammy, this has been great. This has been a great talk.
He's Gen Alpha, I'm Gen Zen.
Okay, her brother, who is 2 years younger than she is, she's like, she can't believe I mixed up
years
their
slower.
generation. Okay, well, thank you, Pammy. I appreciate you.
My son.
Okay. So it is. So you guys got the idea. It is.
Battery.
It is. Oh no, we dropped the battery.
Oh, bummer.
So it's a
Unsubscribe to her.
it's a stuffed animal podcast that wiggles, and it mocks what you say. Pammy's keeping it in here so that it'll mock everything I say. Bye, Pammy. Bye, cactus. Okay, Caitlin.
Yep.
I think, yeah, she left it in here. This is, I'm glad I give you guys advice on this podcast for how to deal with teens. Clearly, I have my house on lock. Oh no, we broke it. Caitlin just dropped it. Batteries are everywhere. We killed the cactus. I'm sorry. My husband actually, this isn't, you would think that this was like a white elephant gift that someone gave him. It is actually not. It is not. He actually wanted this. Okay, bye. This is the most chaotic podcast you ever listened to. Yeah, that's my winter arc, is like stepping into further chaos. It seemed like such a good idea to have a teen spontaneously unscripted on this podcast with a talking and dancing cactus. So this leads me into, so when I asked Joe, I was like, why did you get this? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He was like, what, isn't it obvious? Like, isn't it just absolutely obvious why anyone would want this? And I'm so curious about who came up with this item, in what factory, and was like, there's a product market fit here. There is a product market fit. There's a market that is like, I need a wiggly felt cactus that repeats back everything I say in a high-pitched voice while it wiggles. And then it also sings songs. And my husband feels like, well, obviously there is a market need for that. Like, everyone
Obviously
needs these kind of things. And I am just like, marriage is such a journey. It's so, yeah, like, how are the two of us making this work? I mean, how can I have shared a life for 20 years, more than 20 years, with someone who like feels like this has a place in our home, right next to the inflatable hot tub. Right next to the inflatable hot tub. So this leads us into the dinner party. You might recall from such episodes as 229, the previous episode, my husband, he signed us up to host a sit-down dinner party for 12 graduates of the Stanford School of Business. And I found out about this on 4 days' notice. I mentioned this on Instagram stories, and I said, do you guys think this is crazy? Is this maybe not a lot of time to put together a sit-down dinner party? And one thing I didn't mention in the last episode, they're strangers. We'd never met anyone, and most of them had never met each other. 15% of people were like, this isn't a big deal. I put that question out there as a joke. Like, obviously nobody would say that that's not a big deal. And then I had people DMing me like, it's not that, but that's tons of time. Listen, I stopped doing an interview show a long time ago because it's very time consuming. That's what I did at SiriusXM. That's why I don't have guests on the show. Mainly, honestly, it is a very, very time consuming thing to book people and make your schedule work and all that. I might have to go back to interviews because I want to contact every single person who voted in that and every single person who DM'd me and said, that's not even that big of a deal. And be like, okay, talk to me about how that's not stressful for you. 12 strangers sitting down to eat, presumably a decent meal in your house, and you have 4 days to pull this together. And the other thing is the people who DM'd me seemed to kind of imply that they would be cooking. I was smart. I picked up food to serve. Like, I did not cook. But do they have servants? Do they live in a mansion? Do they have 5 ovens? Like, I honestly want to know. I'm really curious how I am the same species as someone who can think that 4 days notice is like just fine and they can pull that together. So that we did a whole podcast episode on how much I was flipping out about that. So it ended up being okay, even though I was sober, even though I could not drink away my stress. I kept my social anxiety to a minimum. And I was thinking of you guys. I was actually thinking, it was a very good lesson in how much everybody wants a leader, especially in awkward situations, because even though everyone was lovely, they were like beyond lovely, wonderful, wonderful people. So that I want to get that out of the way. They were so cool and so nice. But of course, nobody knew each other. So there were some moments of awkwardness. And so Joe and I called everyone to order, and we did the thing that I said I would do. We did the thing where I said, what is like a goal that you've accomplished or something you've overcome in the past couple of years that you're excited about. And yes, it was awkward to have people talking and be like, okay, ding, 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 everybody, we're going to have everyone go around. Yes, that is an awkward moment to be the leader in that situation, to tell people what we're going to do next. But the relief is palpable because you are taking the social risk. That's the thing is a lot of people glamorize the idea of being a leader, whether it's just being the leader in a social situation or like being CEO of a company. Like, being the boss, like running things, that's so glamorous. What they don't realize is, you're just taking all the risk so that if things go wrong, everyone is looking at you like, this was a horrible idea, man. This really ruined this event. And that's the risk you're taking when you do anything that brings a leadership, vibe to it. And again, this could be like talking to your family at your house or whatever. That's why nobody wants to do it. Because if this doesn't work, everyone is going to look at you, but everyone is relieved when someone is like, okay, I volunteer. I will take the risk. I will lead the situation and, tell everyone what we're doing. So luckily in that case, it was good. It worked. What I thought was funny too, was that, so these people, they all went to Stanford Business School. And I kind of forgot that if you go to that business school, you probably have some crazy undergrad experience as well. Almost everyone at the table, their undergrad was Yale, Harvard, MIT. I think that mostly covers it, actually. I think I went to UT, no graduate degree. So I held it down for UT, but lots of very highly educated people. And what's funny is that when I said like, what's something that you overcame or accomplished, half the table was like, I'm not really sure. I don't know that I've, accomplished anything recently. And I was like, I am at a table with the most type A accomplished people in the world. And they feel like they haven't done much recently. So I wanted to convey that to you guys. You're not alone. You're not alone. If you feel like I haven't done that much like moving forward. That really shocked me. I expected these people to be like, here's my 5-year plan and here's where we are if you see on the spreadsheet. And no, they were like, yeah, I don't know. So a couple of highlights. I did the fake it till you make it thing that I was talking about at the end of the last episode. I pretended to be a gracious lady who is good at hosting. I pretended that I'm good socially, and this is normal for me. And guys, this is how neurodivergent I am. I'm serious. I had a soundtrack in my mind while I was talking to everyone, like, okay, eye contact, like, okay, all right, look them in the eyes. Oh, that's too much eye contact. Okay, look away to show that you're thinking. This is how I interact with people. This is why I flip out about events like this. If it takes that many mental cycles to just ask someone where they're from and what they do, and I'm like, okay, you ask them where they're from. Like, now look to the side to show interest. Like, this is why it's stressful to me. My husband was like, I don't see why this is so stressful. Yeah, because like you have a normal brain. So, but I did the thing where I pretended, it's like you step into a character and I was like, yeah, that's right. Look at me giving just the right amount of eye contact because I do this a lot and I'm good with people, and everything was going well. But my brain does overload in situations like this when I am hosting and there is socializing. It really does kind of fritz out. And so we came so close to having success. But then at the end, content warning coming. Hit the content warning sound effect. First, the content warning sound effect. This is not the first time something similar to this has happened. But okay, so I was serving dessert. I got mini ice creams, like prepackaged ice creams, like little tiny cups to hand out. Bluebell, good Texas brand, because nobody there was from Texas. So I thought they would enjoy that. So I handed those out, and I needed to hand out spoons. So I just wanted to pass a mug around the table at our very classy event with, the Harvard people, the Stanford people, the MIT people. All just these people are just so gracious and again, classy, cultured. Many of them had, actually, I think all of them had like lived in multiple foreign countries when they were doing important work in various places. So I went to grab the spoons, and I just needed a mug big enough. So my fritzed out brain that had gotten completely messed up, just trying to like count out the eye contact beats when I'm talking to people, I just grabbed the biggest mug I saw, and I threw the spoons in it, and I set it at the center of the table. And it had been there for quite some time when Joe, he was at the end of, we had like multiple card tables stacked up. It was like a Viking mead hall, like my husband's way down at the end. And he was like, Jen, are you serious? All right, content warning, PG-13 content. Well, here's a video on YouTube. I'm telling you, look up my YouTube channel. You guys are missing out of what that mug said. Go ahead and play it. This is from our actual dinner party.
At UT.
Not filmed after the fact. That was the party. That is a mug. Again, if your children are in the car, I keep the podcast clean so your kids aren't, asking you what these words mean. Mute it for a second because the mug says, "Boss ass bitch." This is not the first time this mug has gotten me in trouble. It was a gift. One time I was on Allison Sullivan's very lovely podcast for women of faith and how they can grow and be closer to God and stronger in their faith. And my neurodivergent self was, again, like fritzed out, overloaded, just grab a mug because it is big. It's the biggest mug I have. So I think that's why I gravitate towards it. So big font too. I just grabbed it, and I'm just like sitting there chatting with her. I was like, yes, I feel like the way that I can go deeper in the scriptures is here. Let me just have a sip of my coffee, Allison. And you could only see the last two words, which is like so weird. It's so weird to just see those last two words. Literally, while I was like, and I think this is how we, as women of faith, can grow closer to the Lord in our walk in faith and pulling up the mug, and the last two words are right there on the screen. That's on the internet somewhere. I was on Allison Sullivan's podcast. So now I'm putting this mug out for our classy dinner party, and Joe he's like, that's my wife. Like that, and I know she didn't do it on purpose. Like that's my wife. Now, some people might say, Jen, this mug keeps causing you problems. Like, maybe throw it away. Well, that's not my only mug with profanity on it. I'll say that. And two, I like this mug. It's really big and it's so sturdy. It's a gift from my friend Allison, who did the Naughty Corner tour with me. When I booked my own tour with my own credit card, she was my right-hand woman. My opener came around with me for that. And that was her special gift to me after we survived that tour, and it was such a success. So, I can't. So my dinner party guests are just going to have to be subjected to that mug, I guess. So that is me hosting a classy dinner party. Like, we can't get all the way through without something weird happening. And then this was a real swan song of the dinner party. Joe had a good idea. He said, why don't we go around? So previously, like an hour before, we had people do the thing of, what did you accomplish? What do you overcome? And we felt like it would be a nice coda to the evening to have people just quickly say, like, what are you looking forward to in 2025? Because it just feels like a good ending to the evening. And it's a way to gently signal to people we're kind of coming to a close. We're wrapping up. So I thought that was great. So we did that again. I felt so professional. I called everyone to order, and had them go around. And like a good host, I had myself go last. And the problem with that is, if you are the least accomplished and least educated person in a group by a factor of at least 10, don't go at the end of what everyone else says they're about, because I knew what I was going to say. I was like, I'm a comedian, so like I've got some jokes in 2025. Some, I'm just working on some good material, which when I say material, I'm like jokes, like I've got some good jokes coming up. The gentleman before me, I think, I forget what his undergrad is. I think Harvard or MIT. Anyway, I forget. He is in obviously Stanford Business School, and he is a professor of electrical engineering at a prestigious university. And he said, I think I can tell you guys at this table, we are doing some stuff, my research team and I, that is honestly pretty monumental in terms of the way energy is created, used, and stored. I don't know if I'm supposed to repeat what he said, so I won't. And luckily, I didn't understand any of it. So I'll tell you this, guys, it involves hydrogen. All right. So it's like hydrogen and something, and then the way you store it is something too. And you split molecules, and then the electrons, they go somewhere else. And then, yeah. So pretty much, I hope no one, goes and patents that before he has a chance. So he went into it. It's this really exciting stuff. Like they are using semiconductors to find new ways to create energy that people can use, and maybe even store this clean energy in a way that is much more sophisticated than what we have now. So basically, this could start this clean energy revolution. And when he finished, we all looked around the table and we were like, if this works, and it sounds like they're keying in on it, because this was his thing for 2025, we were like, I think this guy might win the Nobel Prize.
Ooh, wow.
I mean, it's like he might be just about to change the future of humanity. This is why you don't go last at the dinner party. Everyone in the room was in silent awe, and like this could change everything. I mean, like, for people. And they were like, okay, wow. All right, well, Jen, what do you have for 2025?
Well,
And I was like, well, I have some jokes. Good jokes. Now, I mean, who's to say whether having green energy where you can store a whole lot of it very efficiently is more life-changing to the future of humanity than hot fire comedy content? We don't know. Maybe my jokes will change the world way more than this like your semiconductor. Like, I think that we're all doing important things at that dinner table. And so for those of you who ever host a dinner party, just don't go last if everyone at the table is like light years more impressive than you are. So overall it was a success. And again, these people were just as kind as they could possibly be. The absolute nicest group of people. And I will say, so Stanford started this one guy started it. The idea was community building, where he said, would people like to sign up to host dinners? Just to get people together, to get to know each other. And every person at that table commented that it's hard to meet people, just modern life. It's hard to meet people. And they were so eager to be there. And what's so funny with all the caterwauling I did leading up to this event, you would not guess that I am the person who preaches village and support system all the time. Stanford was basically like, hey, why don't we help people form a village, form community, not feel so isolated in our fractured, broken society? And I was like, I've never heard of such a thing. Don't want any part of it. I certainly don't want to facilitate that. So now that it is over and I survived, I can say that was actually, it was a very cool thing to do. And, to take it back to us, meaning us podcast village people, someone suggested that I have some kind of sign up sheet at my shows when I'm on tour, because when you think about it, when you go out to one of my tour events, you have a lot in common with everyone in that room. I mean, if you're like following this crazy, if you're this far into this podcast, if you're showing up to my shows, you would be best friends with everyone in that room. And you feel that. I mean, there is a great sense of camaraderie there. And so I've been thinking about that. I would love to do something. I don't know whether I'd have you guys host dinner parties or whatever, but someone suggested like a meetup or just something that you could sign up for. If it's like, yeah, I would like put me on a list of the people who were at Jen's show, and we can have cocktails together or something, because it's people in your local community. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea, and but then I immediately made it awkward. I was like, what if like one person signs up? But I like that, and if anyone has ideas about what that would look like, but listen, it has to be very simple on my end, guys. Very simple. The staff that I travel with to my shows, I'm only able to bring 3 people, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I'm doing all of this by myself because I do not have the comedy millions that I so justly deserve. So it cannot require like any mental energy from me, but I don't mind like announcing it or whatever. So if anyone has ideas, email Caitlin at thejfshow.com. That is Caitlin, Katlyn, Caitlin at thejfshow.com. That info is also on my website. I like the idea. I just need to think of what that would look like and how I cannot ruin it and make it awkward, because that's that's an issue. Okay. The other thing we did recently is this is kind of a cool example of how when you iterate, when you just try things, put yourself out there, just start doing stuff. And sometimes you hit brick walls and you're failing and it's frustrating, but good things come out of those iterations, even if it doesn't get you to where you wanted to be. I know that was a mouthful, so I'm going to illustrate this. I will let you guys in on something. I am trying to book a venue for filming my next comedy special. There are only a few cities that make sense for this. Currently, I'm looking at Minneapolis, and really there are only like 2 others that are even a possibility. for a very long list of reasons. So I've been trying to figure out what venue I could book, because for a few reasons I don't think it makes sense to do it at just the regular comedy club that I would go to if I toured there. So I'm iterating. I'm just calling people. I'm getting dinged. I am getting rejected. I am having no luck. I might have to move on to a different city because I am not having any luck with this. But again, this goes back to that concept of try, fail, try, try. The door slams shut in your face. Okay, whatever. Like, just back to the next thing. So I'm in that process of iteration. It's not going well. But as part of my just try, fail cycle that's my whole life, I called a friend of mine who lives up there, and he said, the other thing is I need a film crew. I have nothing, guys. I have nothing. Just a vision. That's all I have, is a vision for filming my next comedy special. So I'm like, yeah, this is all set. If I only had a city, a venue, and a film crew, I'm ready to go. I mean, we are done. We are done. So I called a friend of mine who lives in Minneapolis. I said, do you know, can you help me with any of this? And he said, yeah, there's a guy who has a very prestigious, film company, really nice guy, great guy. But my friend said, I don't think you'll be able to connect with him this week because he's traveling. So maybe you could connect with him next week. Then my friend says, oh, wait a minute. He's actually going to Austin because his son is an F4 racer. Like, F4 is, it leads up to F1, Formula One. And he said, wait, he's going to be at Austin in Austin, like, tomorrow. So why don't you reach out? So first of all, another good example of just like trust God's timing. I actually meant to call my friend weeks before, and it just didn't work. I just hadn't made that phone call yet. And in the old days, before I was a girl boss who knew how to not beat myself up about stupid stuff all the time, I would have told myself the narrative, I'm such a procrastinator. Like, I meant to call Matt, and like, I haven't called Matt yet. And then I'm never going to get a special done because I'm a procrastinator. I don't do that anymore. I'm just like, listen, I didn't get to it. I'm busy. I must have had other priorities. So whatever. Well, very often that ends up being God's timing, because if I had called my friend weeks before, I don't think it would have come up. Like, I wouldn't be like, hey, does your son race F4? Is he going to be in Austin? So it was just perfect timing that when I was first introduced to this guy, he was driving to the airport to come to my city. So he ends up inviting us down to the big racetrack. This is where, the Netflix special Drive to Survive about Formula One, that's, you'll see them in Austin when they, do the big races. So he invites us down to be part of Formula 4 racing. And, Caitlin, your shirt came, by the way.
Oh,
I'm sorry, guys. This is we do administrative stuff like while we're live. It's at my house, so yeah. Okay, so we'll get to that in a minute, folks. So Caitlin loves racing, and she's an amazing driver. Like, in another universe, she would be like not producing this podcast, and she'd be the first female Formula One driver. And she has a talent for it. It's her blue flame. I mean, it's like great. So of course, I said, oh, Caitlin, come on. I'm going to the racetrack. Why don't you come on down? I really thought that we would just go down there. I would shake this guy's hand. We would talk about the possibility of filming my special, and we would leave. How many hours were we at Circuit of the Americas? I mean,
we were there all day.
Yeah, all day. I mean, we got there at 10 a.m. Mm-hmm. We left at like 4 p.m. Mm-hmm. I think. Yeah. And it ended up, Caitlin, it was a like magical day for you, right?
It was amazing. I loved it. Every bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, we got to sit in race cars, and this was it was so cool for Caitlin to see the behind the scenes of racing and to be part of that. And here's what I want to bring you guys back to. I don't know if it will work for me to work with this film crew. I hope so, because they seem amazing, but they're Minneapolis based. So if I can't find a venue, I don't know that this is going to work out. That might be yet another thing this year that I tried to push forward on and it didn't work out. But look at what came of it. I will never forget that day. I mean, even for me, as someone who I casually follow F1, but I wasn't that into racing. even I had to, I mean, that it was so special, so cool to be in the garages where they're fixing up the cars. And then you would be walking around where the food trucks are, and like a big like Formula One car would just come zooming through, like right by you, like you could reach out and touch it. And they were driving us around on these high-powered golf carts, and and then I met this beautiful, amazing female race car driver. She's F4, and so she and I had a great conversation about just being women and, you know, male-dominated industries. A little bit different, the work that I do, a little bit different, but it was magical. It was such a special day, and I mean it when I say. Maybe like I don't know. Maybe I won't end up filming a comedy special in Minneapolis, but I don't even care. Well, I care, but but I will say that was so worth it to have that experience, and I think I can say like worth it for Caitlin.
Oh yeah, I got so much valuable information.
And you got a cruise shirt too.
Yeah, I did. I'm so excited.
So not only did Caitlin have a blast that day, but she also got info about if she would like to take steps of following her blue flame of racing. She got some very specific, concrete action, like join this organization, talk to these people. She got phone numbers of people who might be able to help with next steps. So see how that blessed her. My process of iteration blessed her, even though I am currently failing at the original goal, which is freaking comedy special.
Sorry.
And this is like, it's honestly great. And think about it, you know, and maybe you don't even see the results of it, but like you try a new hobby of candle making, and who knows, maybe it, you know, you burn yourself and you're in the hospital with a cast on your burnt stub of a hand, and, you know, and it didn't work, but who knows, maybe just placing that order from the mom and pop candle making company, maybe they were really blessed, like, oh hey, we were praying to hit this order milestone and we just hit it. I mean, you will never regret that iteration process of just put yourself out there and just put yourself out there and try, because you might not meet the final goal, it might not work, but I guarantee you that just that energy, just that attitude that you are putting out there into the world of, you know, I'm going to try it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try it. God blesses that. It's because it's an energy of love, and it's an energy of humility. It's an energy of setting aside your ego and saying, you know, I might look foolish, but I'm going to try this. And God always blesses that. God always blesses that posture of, I think this might help people, and I think it might bring something positive into the world. The downside is I might look like a moron, and I might fail, and I might get frustrated, but I'll take the risk. I'll take the risk because it might be a good thing. And the other thing you learn is even when something doesn't work, you also find out what is not your blue flame, what should not be part of the winter arc. Caitlin, pull up. This is okay. This is it. You guys just have to look up this episode on YouTube. It's episode 230. If you just type in like Fulwiler 230 to YouTube, this episode should come right up. Okay. Play the video of me getting in a race car.
No.
Okay, so put on it. We're going to see if I fit in this car. Okay. Probably not. Okay, so I heard keep my legs straight, right? Okay, so this is, I did not realize that usually they don't want you to be super tall. Play it, because that's a very unflattering place to pause on. Usually actually, you can just keep it playing. Usually they don't want you to be super tall so that your legs are not crushed if you're in a horrific accident. I'm too tall for this car. My knees, my legs did not fit in this car, but this is a video of me trying to get in it. And so I get in it. Right now in the video, I'm lowering myself down. Okay, so a couple things you don't know. I might not be getting out about getting in the race car. It is like lowering yourself into a very deep hole, in the sense that the only way back up is with pure upper body strength. Like there's no, you can't move your legs. Like you can't push with your legs because you'll be pushing on the gas pedals, and your legs are in this like really narrow capsule where there's just nothing to sort of grab onto. So it's like being lowered into a crypt. That's what it felt like to me. It's like this coffin car, and the only way to get out is with upper body strength. Now here in the video, you see a look of utter panic crossing my face.
I can't believe it.
Yes, turn it up.
Just like sitting here is terrifying.
Try not to get the bent wing in the picture. You'd be doing 130, 140. Not the car has
Just cover it up with my hand.
from the previous round.
Yeah.
The bad part about cars is people get in the cars.
I was honestly, guys, I was playing it cool because we were filming.
Yeah.
I was about to have a full
Lucy, go ahead now,
on
just
panic attack. You can turn it down. I was about to have a full on panic attack. I'm claustrophobic. I'm just too tall for the car. And again, the only way to escape is with upper body strength. Do I look to you like someone who has a lot of upper body strength? I cannot do one push-up off my knees. Don't tell my trainer that, because she'll, and I've been working out with a trainer for years, and she's good. She is like top quality, but it's just not, guys, it's not in the cars for me. I will never, my arms are too like long or something. I don't know what my problem is, but I am not muscular in any way, despite the fact that 3 times a week I do weights with a trainer. I cannot possibly describe the feeling of panic that came over me when I was lowered into this car, and then they put the stuff on they put the steering wheel in, because they take it off when you get out. So then the steering wheel is pushing up against me. It's like being in a middle seat on Spirit Airlines. But you can't get out. Like there's no, just standing up easily. They put some like back thing around it too. And you're just, there is no room to move. I mean, even with your elbows at your side, they are touching the side of the car. I almost lost my mind. Now, Caitlin, you also got in this vehicle. What did it feel like for you?
Oh, I mean, I had the same experience where it was really tight, and I was not prepared for that. And it's like, I wasn't ready to realize that you're laying down almost.
Right,
And
right.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it is. It's like being in, did you ever see those Relax Man pods that they sold on Amazon for $50,000, where it's almost like a coffin or something, like a space capsule. You lie down and they put you in this tightly enclosed thing, and someone was like, yeah, I bet people will pay $50,000 for this. It was like that. I mean, yeah, so your feet are straight out and you cannot bend your knees, although I kind of had to just because I'm so tall. And look, if something happens, if you're in an accident, I mean, how do you get out, Caitlin? How do you, I mean, I guess they just have very strong arms.
Yeah, you have to. And there's like a quick release on the seatbelt and all that stuff. That's what they showed me. So.
Oh, yeah. And they were like, do not press this one button. And my like neurodivergent, I'm like, well, I have to press. This one? Yeah. And it would like spray you down for 10 minutes or something with anti-fire stuff. Because they're like, yeah, if you get in an accident, you might be on fire. And I was like, let me tell you something, gentlemen, not for any amount of money in the whole world would I do one race in this car where they're like, it might be fun and you might race around and do well, or you might be trapped in a flaming coffin with no way to get out. Like that's another outcome that could also happen. So we'll just like kind of see. Visceral terror is like, and the car wasn't even moving and I was losing my mind. And then Caitlin, you also pointed out, because you're so low, you can't see the front of, F1 cars they've got, or F4 cars in this case, they've got that very, very long, narrow front of them. You can't see that at all, nope. Right?
You can only see like above. It's weird because when you drive, you see like right in front of you, like kind of where your wheels are, but this one you couldn't. You have to look far out to be able to plan, I guess, where you're turning. I was like, this.
You just have to guess.
Yeah.
You just have to guess where the front of your car is. And you watch like the, Netflix Drive to Survive. I mean, they get within inches of each other. I'm like, are they using the force? How do they know? You can't see anything. I'm tall and I couldn't even come close to seeing anywhere, like nothing past the steering wheel. Here's the point that I'm leading up to. Hit the Jen does know where she's going sound effect. This is Blue Flame. And this is why I'm saying, when you guys are trying to find your gift, when you guys are trying to find your talent, one of the most common reasons you might miss it, or if you know what it is, you might miss God calling you to do it, because it seems to you like it's just such a gift. It's like you're spoiled. Like you would be spoiled to do this. Like, come on, everybody wants to do that. Okay. Life isn't like that. Life isn't like that. Life is hard, and it's a struggle, and we all like, yes, everybody wants to do this, but I mean, come on, like who am I that just gets like live the perfect life all the time? And you know what it reminds me of is one of the sisters of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist. She's a twin, and I know both her and her sister's a doctor, and then she's a nun. She's a religious sister. And I was talking to her sister, who is a doctor, and her sister said, she said, yeah, I knew that religious life was right for her when she said she was thinking about joining the convent. And she said, it just seems like, come on, everybody wants to do this. Like, why would I get to be so lucky, as to be a nun? Like, it just, everyone wants this gift. And her sister, who is very much called to, be a doctor, have kids, married life, all that, but is still, deeply Catholic, just in a, living a regular family life. Her sister was like, no, not everyone wants to live in a convent and take a vow of celibacy and wear a habit. But her nun sister was like, oh, come on, everybody wants to do that. So that was really impressed upon me when I sat in that race car. Honestly, it was a real aha moment for me, because I love the Formula One show, Drive to Survive. That is the only show that Joe and I ever watch together, because we're just we can't agree on entertainment ever. But that is our thing, that when Drive to Survive comes out, we stop everything. We are glued to every episode. So I've followed that Formula race car driving, and I know how many people are like, this is just like the dream beyond dreams. I mean, who could possibly be that lucky to get to do this? Even F2, F3, F4, like who could possibly have a life that beautiful and glorious? And then knowing Caitlin, even more so, it's like, yeah, I mean, there are just, I see it. I was like, I just totally get it. I see the dream. It's like fast cars, and you're at the racetrack, and it's so fun and glamorous. When I sat in that car, I was like, this is for crazy people. Like you need your head checked if you do this. This is insane. There is not enough money in the world, not under any circumstances. Like I said, not one race. I would not do one race in that car. Like if my fairy godmother came to me and was like, Jen, first of all, obviously your podcast makes no money. You lose money on it. So listen, let me fairy godmother you. You can live the ultimate dream of like, I will wave my magic wand and I will make you a multimillionaire Formula One race car driver tomorrow. Like, you wake up, it's a new life. You're a highly successful, like Lewis Hamilton level success. I'd be like, get out of here. Shoo, poof, like go back in your genie bottle. Or no, absolutely not. I would have a stroke. I will never get in a Formula car again. Now, Caitlin, she's ready to go. I mean, like they can make the call tomorrow.
Yeah. I was hoping to talk them into letting me take it out, but I knew they wouldn't.
I know. I was kind of hinting too. I was like, so does
just one lap?
Yeah. Does it run or, Yeah. So Caitlin loves it. So, but here's what's interesting. I think it tells you something about like, crazy people recognize other crazy people, because when I'm in social settings, it often comes up what I do for work. I'm a stand-up comic. And what's interesting is, people, they often, find that interesting. Like, wow, like at the dinner party, they were like, oh, well, yes, when I was studying molecular biology at Harvard, I knew someone who did stand up. He was a homeless man. I used to give him money. So, I get different reactions, and people always find it interesting. But what's interesting is I have never gotten such a strong response to what I do than I did from the F4, like the owner of the team and the coach and the drivers. To a man, every one of them was like, that's terrifying. They all said, they used the word terrifying. Caitlin heard them. Like, they really wanted to talk to me about this. And they're like, after they were like, so this is the suit you wear. If you catch on fire, you can be full body on fire, trapped in your car for 7 minutes. And this is a flame retardant suit that will keep you, you won't burn too much, and we can get and you'll just, be trapped in the car because it's, all upper body strength to get out. And then they're like, stand-up comedy, that's terrifying. That's so scary. I don't know how you do it. And it was just this wonderful moment of looking at each other. And multiple of them, they were like, I not for any amount of money. They're like, I wouldn't go do 5 minutes on stage. It's the idea of like, you're standing up there and everyone is staring at you and you're trying to make people laugh and they might not laugh. And then you're just standing up there and it's horrible. It's really awkward. And I was like, that happens. That's part of the game. You have to go through that. They were like, they one guy actually shuddered. He was like, oh, there's no way. And he's out there racing these crazy cars. So, if God ever puts something in your path, like maybe you kind of know what your calling is, and an opportunity comes up and you almost feel guilty, like, okay, this is self-indulgent. I mean, this is just, come on, everybody wants to do this. Let me just tell you right now, not everybody wants to do this. I think that about my work. I'm like, oh, everybody wants to go to a seedy dive bar at 11:30 p.m. in Austin, get shouted at by, 4 drugged out homeless people while you're walking down the street, and you go into the bar and it's like, 5 people there and they don't know who you are and they don't care. And you have to do clean comedy and make these people laugh. Like, well, everybody wants to live that life. I mean, like, why would I be so lucky that I get called to do this? And then you get paid $5 at the end of it. I'm like, well, everybody wants to do that. But, so like, maybe I'm just being self-indulgent by answering this call. And then meanwhile, like if someone called Caitlin tomorrow and was like, Caitlin, we have a full-time 6-figure job for you tomorrow, testing race cars. You drive them around. Would you almost feel a little guilty?
I would feel a little guilty, yeah, for sure.
Like, because you would probably feel like, come on, like life can't be this good. Yeah, right. Like imposter syndrome, like, come on. Everybody wants to do this. Again, not everybody wants it. They could call me tomorrow. Don't worry, I'd pass it to you. I'd be like, Caitlin's the one you want. They'd be like, Jen, $600,000 a year. You just have to drive these. I'd hang up on them after I gave them Caitlin's info. I would, nope, no. So your blue flame might be invisible to you, is what I'm saying. Now this is sort of the main topic. What is the topic? Am I reading that?
Winter arc.
Yeah, winter art. No, I know, Caitlin. Don't
gotcha.
worry. I know, man. What is the time? I can't read it.
Are
we at
1:02? Almost 1:03.
Okay, well, that was kind of the main topic.
Yeah.
Far be it from me to take a full hour to get to the main topic. I would never do that. That was okay. That was kind of the point I was making. But as you head into your winter arc, I am guessing if your life is anything like mine, you might feel a little lost on what that should even look like. People might ask you, what are your goals for 2025? If you're like my dinner party companion, maybe you're just going to save humanity, save the earth, or maybe you're not sure. And I so want to encourage you to to first of all, just try a bunch of stuff. Knock on a bunch of doors, try a bunch of things, and just never ever be afraid to iterate. And again, I use the word iteration very intentionally because it's something, actually, speaking of business schools, they talk about this a lot at Stanford Business School, the idea that in order to get all the great apps that you've ever used, Instagram, Uber, TikTok, things like that, these apps were so different, unrecognizably different when they first started the app. But what did they do? iterated, meaning they'd put out an app, people maybe kind of saw some potential, but it didn't work. So then they would redo it. And then people would be like, no, this sucks, this doesn't work. And then people liked one feature but hated every other, so they would redo the app and really emphasize that one feature. Iteration, that is what the process of iteration looks like. And one of the things that got me thinking about this is I tried a bunch of stuff this year. Like I mentioned a few episodes ago, I got into knitting. The reason I got into knitting is because I like listening to audiobooks, but I cannot just sit still and do nothing and listen to an audiobook. So I thought, I will make lovely scarves for people and homemade goods that I share with my loved ones to have something to do while I listen to audiobooks, because I don't know myself at all, evidently. Maybe when I'm 80, I'll know myself well enough to be like, does that sound like you, Jen? Does that, like, can you hear that? Can you visualize that? Like, Jen Fulwiler made me the loveliest homemade hand good. Like, does that sound like something that would happen? So I was straightening up my room before I'm back on tour. Phoenix, St. Louis, Indy, Chicago. Before I head back out on tour, I was straightening up my room and I found all this knitting stuff that, I spent money on. It's taking up a lot of room, and it was tempting to feel like, oh, I suck. I'm just like trying things and quitting them. But no, I don't see it as like, oh, I'm just a quitter. I'm constantly quitting things. That was an iteration. It was a good idea, actually. The idea that this will help me listen to more audiobooks because it gives me something to do with my hands. Good idea. It just didn't actually come to fruition. I think now that we are reaching the final stretch of this year, I think I can say maybe eating tinned fish is
Forgot.
Shut up. Maybe it's not going to be my whole personality. I was really bought in on that. I'm going to look up which episode that was. Shut up. Okay, just because every single one of you knew that this was one of Jen's hyperfixations that she is never going to do again. Maybe, oh yeah, okay, episode 209, Go Fish. It was from, I think, June. Yeah, episode 209, Go Fish. You will hear, if you look up that episode, how convinced I was that this is my new whole personality. I thought we would be in November 2024, and I would be like, well, the tin fish lifestyle is just personally what I'm about, because it's a good idea. It has omega-3s. It has protein. And just because in episode 209, we spilled fish guts and juice all over the floor and all over ourselves, and we reeked of fish for some time to come. And just because I wanted to vomit every time I put one of the small dead fish from a can in my mouth, I was like, that's not going to stop me from being a part of the tin fish lifestyle. And now I can say, I think I do owe Caitlin an apology for making... Caitlin had to eat a lot of tinned fish because I was so convinced that this was going to be my thing. This was going to be my food profile personality. I have had tinned fish twice since that episode. That was June. We are now in November. So listen, guys, but that was an iteration. That wasn't me hyperfixating on a new thing that I try briefly and then discard in the graveyard of projects that Jen has abandoned. No. That would be the bad spin. The correct spin is I was iterating. And I have referenced these health issues, which I mentioned them in the second to last, the State of the Dumpster Fire on Patreon, patreon.com/thisisjen. I went into more details about what the new, these are not blood clot related health problems are. I haven't been banned from any new offices yet. I went into details. I just don't want this like on the internet forever. But I have done a ton of iterating with trying to solve these health problems that, okay, I thought that eating more protein, more omega-3s would solve things. And if I could have stomached tinned fish, I think it might have actually really helped me. I just couldn't do it. And then fermenting yogurt. Speaking of, I told you guys to watch the Village Hustle Patreon. That's my new version of tinned fish. That's my new version of tinned fish, is trying to grow the right kind of bacteria in my kitchen for probiotic yogurt. And, and I haven't answered the question, how do you grow the good bacteria in the yogurt without growing E. coli and listeria at the same time, which also, proliferate under the same circumstances? I don't have an answer to that question. So if Caitlin ever puts out an episode like, hey guys, this is Caitlin. Jen is in the hospital with severe food poisoning. She is only able to be fed through, IV fluids, and she somehow vomits that up. Well, then you'll know that I didn't figure it out. So that is why in the Village Hustle Patreon episode, I was talking about making my own yogurt. That is the latest iteration of me trying to figure out my health stuff, and I'm relentless. I'm just going to keep fine. Well, I now have 2 yogurt makers because the first one didn't work. And I actually sat it next to the knitting stuff that I'm no longer using. I sat it next to a box of tinned fish, and and there's like all this makeup stuff. Oh, I tried a different type of rollers for my hair. Done with those. I'm not doing those. But guys, I shamelessly iterate. I shamelessly iterate. But that is why I am very confident in my winter arc. And I'm actually pretty confident in general with where I'm going in life. You guys comment on that sometimes in the Apple Podcast reviews. You're like, man, I wish I had Jen's confidence. I mean, she's not always right. A lot of the time she's really not right. But she did, what was that one? What did the one podcast reviewer say? She was like, maybe an error, never in doubt. That is so my vibe. And I think I've just iterated through so much stuff. It's like, Jen, how do you know that stand-up comedy is for you? Because I've done everything else. I've done everything else. And so I can tell you with confidence that this is the one. This is it. So that is how you can have a meaningful winter arc and really end this year well, is to embrace the concept of iteration and to be like, you know what, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to get in that race car, get stuck in that race car. Or I'm going to try knitting too. And like Jen, this might be a sad phase that now we just have like knitting stuff collecting dust, but I'm interested in it. And here's the thing, guys. 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 20 things you try in your iterations, it's going to hit. It's rare, but 1 out of 20, it's going to hit. And when it hits, everyone will be so jealous of you. They'll be like, man, I wish, she knows what her thing is and she's doing it. She's setting goals. She's got her winter arc. She's headed into the new year with all this. And they'll say, you're lucky. And they'll be like, wow, well, God must answer your prayers. I've been asking God forever, what my calling is. I don't know. And people will perceive you as lucky, but you'll know it was not luck at all. You just tried so many things and failed at them, and then you finally found the one that you are meant to stick with, the one that you are meant to pursue. And man, let me tell you, after all of the iterations and all of the failures, when you finally find that thing that hits, the payoff, it's like confetti falling from the ceiling. All right, that is it for this fine episode. We do lock screens now. We do lock screens for most episodes. Maybe some I won't have any ideas, but I think I'll do I'm iterating lock screen. This is completely free. I ask that you sign up for my email list, but you don't have to. That link is in the show notes to the lock screens, and we will be back with you next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.